Bring yourself back to 2009. Jose Mourinho is the best manager in the world. He's on top of it very much so. His Inter Milan is one of the best teams that I've ever seen play. They conquer Barcelona, who seemed undeniably a powerhouse. Lionel Messi was on that squad, young, prime. They were so good, yet Inter Milan knocked them down to win the treble. Iconic. Who was on the other side of that in Serie A? It was Roma, who was arguably the second best team in any league. I think if you went around the top 5 and you looked at who was in second, Roma were the best of the second spot. And they had a manager named Luciano Spalletti. The irony now, of course, is that Jose coaches Roma, and El Pelato, the bald one, went on to coach Inter and now just won the Scudetto with Napoli. That brings us to our guest, Raul, Uncle Sharma. Let's give him a round of applause. How are you, Raul?
Oh, thank you. That was a great intro. I'm doing well and here to talk about this great matchup and crazy top 4 race that we're witnessing.
Man, I can't remember really, like in recent memory, has it ever been so tight between Inter, Roma, and Milan? And even now you could throw Atalanta in the mix. Like this has gotten nuts. What do you know what? I want to ask you, what do you think of this Juventus? Like, forget the penalties and anything aside, like any off-field stuff. How do you rate this Juve squad?
I rate it highly in terms of I thought last year, I mean, since they brought Allegri back, I thought they were going to be challenging or winning the Scudetto these last couple of years. So I rate it. I think it's kind of debatable. I think a lot of people do debate it, but the fact that it's still the highest paid team and Allegri is the highest paid coach, to me, I think they've underachieved both these past 2 seasons.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. When you look at the players that they've brought in, they bring Vlahovic, the best striker in Italy at the moment. He's brought over. He's just got over his goal drought, finally broke it after something like over 500 minutes. They signed Bremer. They have a habit of signing the best players in Serie A, even if it comes down to Milan, who's historically the other financial stronghold.
That Bayern Munich approach, right?
Yeah, and we've had to really endure that if you're not a fan of Juventus for the best part of the last 15 years, right?
Yeah. I mean, you guys know for sure, Roma, like these guys used to just come and grab your boys.
Pjanic, Vucinic, I'm sure there's others off the top of my head. Benatia, bro, he was really good. That guy was a true top center back. Szczesny, yeah. You just digging that knife in a little further. Szczesny was awesome too. However, Sabatini brought in Alisson, relatively unknown from Brazil before that, and he far surpassed what Szczesny could do. But the fact of the matter is, I think they have underachieved when you look at who they brought. They bring in Pogba. I understand there's injuries and this and that, but nevertheless, Juventus should definitely not have been that far off of Napoli. I mean, it's pretty nuts. Looking at this Roma now and Inter, given our rivalry, I think sometimes with this match, it's like a derby that doesn't have a name. You know, the Derby d'Italia is, of course, Juve Inter, and then the Derby della Capitale, Lazio Roma. But then I think that there should be a name for this, right? Because if you look at starting in the Mourinho era at Inter, would you agree that there's something that started? I wouldn't say it's so much about the fans as much as it is about the players. And these two teams have collided in some excellent battles. And as you could see below, Roma gets the better end at the San Siro last time out. Di Marco looks like a prime, in form Amaury Icardi, but then Dybala answers, smashes it into the net before Chris Smalling gives the coup de grace and Roma take the 3 points away. But I want to ask you, Sharma, what do you think about Roma this season, if you had to give me a general overview?
I think in the image of Mourinho, I think this season is when like I look at Roma and it's like, this is what I thought. Last season I was kind of surprised. I was watching Roma and I was like, wow, I think Mourinho is like kind of playing some attacking football, some nice football. Like, you know, maybe he's changed his ways, you know, he's modernized, as people would say. But then this season I watch you and I'm like, yeah, this is Jose. this is peak Jose. Your defending is like, improved so much. You know, you barely concede goals this season, and your attacking is leaves a lot to be desired, especially when you're without Dybala. But solid. It's surprising watching Roma over the last few years, where it's like you were far from solid, but this year That's the word that comes to me. Solid.
They do. And I think that sometimes Roma fans forget that as well, because, of course, the injuries take their toll. But when you have the starting 11, Mourinho has his boys very much echoing the way that Inter played, right? You had Eto, who at times, this guy scored at will in Spain, comes over and is deployed in certain moments almost like a left wing back, right? So he enforces his outside players, whether they are actually, I shouldn't just say outside, but even like someone like Tammy Abraham, to get further back and contribute entirely into the defensive phase. But one thing you point out, like being more defensive this year, I have noticed for sure their concentration is just a different story when all the regular starters are out there. But
yeah, I mean, I've got like, I pulled up some stats before. It was like, I think at this stage last year, you conceded 37, and now you've only conceded 31 goals, which is a massive improvement.
Yeah. And on top of that, I think they've scored, I read recently, 17 out of 18 matches in 2023. So, yes, they're not scoring a lot, but they do manage to get the ball into the back of the net more often than not, we could say. Inter, what's the story? I see two different sides, one in the Champions League semifinal and one that loses against the bottom half of the table clubs. What's going on?
If I could tell you what was going on, Wayne, I think I'd be able to be the director at Inter. Like, this team is completely crazy. Like, we call it Pazza Inter, and we are the embodiment of Pazza this year for sure. We just don't know what Inter's going to turn up. Our game against you guys in the first half of the season was, perfect example of that, because we were struggling then, but that was actually one of our better performances. But then we just end up conceding out of nowhere. Like, we can be just, doing well, and we just end up conceding. So they can have lapses of concentrations, but then we can also have games like, the Benfica one, where we completely, squash teams aside. At Lazio the other day, when we beat them, like, completely outplaying them, dominating them. And then, against these lower teams, I don't know if it's motivation or mentality. I don't know what it is. Inzaghi not being this kind of strict disciplinarian that maybe historically is what Inter needs. That's what I can point to. But recently we've picked back up form, so hopefully things continue and goals have been flowing in. That has been the main problem with Inter this season: goals conversion. I think you have the same issue. Like the XG numbers far outweigh the actual
goals.
Yeah.
Do you think that Inzaghi holds the players accountable when they do have bad performances? Do we see a rotation?
We see a rotation, but I don't think it's based on performance with Inzaghi. It seems to be kind of, an example for tomorrow, the starting up front duo is supposed to be, according to Sky Sport Italy, Lukaku and Correa, which is just how he does it. So one game it will be Dzeko Lautaro, which it was against Hellas Verona, and we know that the next game it will be, regardless whether Dzeko scored a hat trick, which he almost did in the last game. Lautaro scored 2 as well, but it looks like it will be Lukaku, Correa. So I don't think, he doesn't seem to be that type of guy, to be honest. It doesn't seem like that. I don't know if it's a weakness or a good thing about him, but I think it holds him back in a team like Inter. I think, Conte, Mourinho, like these types of managers that was successful at Inter, it seems like you need that type of character to be the manager at Inter.
I see totally. With that character being said, what player do you find most exudes that? Who is the guy who brings Inter over the edge and gets them the 3 points this season?
That's also another issue. We haven't really had that guy this season. I can't point to one guy and say that, this is the leader of the team.
What's up with Barella? Like, what is going on?
It should be Nico Barella. It should be him. And he's the perfect embodiment of that, consistency. There's been matches where he's, clearly probably, the best Italian player out there right now. But then there's some games where he's completely, indisciplined, and his body language is all kinds of wrong. He's very famous for throwing his arms around, moaning at his teammates, at the referee.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I love Barella. I've watched him since he played in Sardinia, but I don't like that attitude. I think you got to be a team player.
Yeah. No, I agree. So it should have been him, but at times he is, but at times he isn't. If I had to point out one player that's been consistent the whole season, or two, I would point to Matteo Darmian, Matty Doms, as we lovingly call him. He's just, that guy that you can slot anywhere. Yeah, he's always 6.5, 7 out of 10. Maybe he doesn't give you an 8 or 9, but he always gives you, minimum 6 out of 10. And Hakan Calhanoglu, he's had to slot into the Brozovic position for a few months when Brozovic was injured. And amazing. I could never have imagined him slotting in that role so seamlessly and consistently.
That's tough because when you compare Calhanoglu, who played so much more free throughout his career, and then all of a sudden you got to drop back in that Brozovic position, you got to protect the defense, you got to rove, but also in a zone, right? You can't just you can't play as free as he typically would throughout his career. So him being able to adapt to that and then win the ball back, I'm assuming at times, that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah. I think it's similar to how you guys converted Mkhitaryan, who, thank you for Mkhitaryan, by the way.
That was my next question.
Been he almost seems like he's always played a freer role, but then almost limiting these players seems to even bring out even more out of them, which is funny.
Mkhitaryan went from a number 10, we could say at Borussia Dortmund, all the way to when he was with Mourinho as, I want to say it's a number 8, but his role was a little different. He wasn't as athletic as a number 8. His idea, or his the premise of his play, was based upon receiving it from the defensive zone and transitioning it into attack. He was very good at that because he was so smooth on the ball.
Yeah. No,
is he doing the same thing?
Yeah. He's exactly that. He's I think as you mentioned with the Hakan, actually, I don't really like him. I've never rated him highly when he was a number 10, when he was a / winger at Milan. I've never really liked him that much, but I really like him in this deeper role. And Mkhitaryan in this Mezzala role, I like him more than Hakan. I think he just adds that bit more ball carrying ability. He's got those little bit of, he can dribble out of a tricky situation. He's been amazing. And Inzaghi plays him so much. He's 34. And
34.
We always say in my previews, oh, surely he's going to rest Mkhitaryan in this game, but never does.
So I turned 33 last week, and as you get older, I can't imagine being a professional and playing 2-3 times a week, and you're facing, it's not okay, you can do it as you get older, but also consider that there's 21 and 22-year-olds out there that you're competing against. Those guys could literally party all night, show up the next day, and still put in incredible marathon-like performances. So a lot of credit to Mkhitaryan, honestly. Professional, true pro.
You don't look 33, by the way. If you told me to guess, I would have said 23. You got that Dybala baby face.
It's actually what my wife says too. She'll be like, "Oh, you're a little different type of a Dybala baby face." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks. I'll keep it." So we've got Inter in this time where they're trying to find who's the leader of this team. They're trying to find a consistency within their starting lineup. They don't know if Inzaghi probably will be there next season, but maybe not. So I get the feeling this Inter, I don't want to say transition, but almost doesn't know exactly who they are yet. And that makes it tough for me to go in and to analyze them and to say, Roma have 3 keys to this game. They got to do X, Y, Z. But I can't really say that when the team is constantly rotating and I don't know what they're going to get. I think that's what's going to make this game really difficult for Mourinho. Flip side here, what do you think of Roma as far as who's their danger man? Let's take into account that Chris Smalling will probably be out, as well as Dybala. Wijnaldum also out. So who does it come down to? Who's the game changer?
Yeah, I mean, I do like your wing backs. They can be dangerous. I mean, El Shaarawy is out injured as well. So I guess it has to be in the absence of all these guys. It has to be Tammy. It has to be Tammy Abraham, right? Even though he's not been firing this season as much. Pellegrini's also been kind of out of form. Well, he's kind of recovered recently, but yeah, I'll go for Tammy as the guy to watch out for you guys.
This is Roma's possible starting lineup. Patricio, Mancini, Cristante, Ibanez. The difference that you have now is Cristante steps back as the center back where Chris Smalling would be. Up ahead, Zalewski, Matic returns following his yellow card suspension. Eduardo Bove, our youngster from the Primavera. Spinazzola, you mentioned danger from the width. Up ahead, Pellegrini, Solbakken, Abraham. I believe this is accurate. This is what I'm reading right here. Do you think that Inter is going to try to attack the weakness either at the center point? Do you think, I think it may be a better question, are they going to adjust their tactics? Do you think Inzaghi tries to find a hole here? And where is that hole?
I think, I don't think Inzaghi is the type of, I don't think he tailors specific tactics to the team. I mean, sometimes obviously, like, some bigger teams, we end up not having as much possession, but I think that's just the flow of the game, not by design. I think Inzaghi is always going to try to dominate possession, try to dominate the territorial, which I think you guys will happy to do.
Yeah.
You'll be happy to sit back. I think there will be a lot of crossing, especially with Lukaku in the middle. I think there will be a lot of trying to overlap or underlap, losing Di Marco or Dumfries on the wings to try to upset Zalewski and Spinazzola. I think that's where it could be the weakness. We saw last year when we played you guys, Dumfries scored in the away game against you guys, was 3-0. And then the home game, Dumfries scored again, got in behind Zalewski. So I think that could be a factor. The wing backs, the duels on the sides.
Yeah, I would say that Spinazzola reminded me against Milan and midweek against Monza. He came in and he kind of changed the game. He has a vision, I think, that's somewhat underrated in his game. I think a lot of maybe like highlight clips will show Spinazzola as this dribbler who can definitely take advantage of players who are not as keen, not as smart or tactically disciplined. But one thing that he really adds is this underlapping run. I think you mentioned that where he'll cut a little bit inside, not the way that Theo Hernandez does, but he'll definitely take like the movement inside the half space and then look to read the run of Tammy or Belotti or whoever is up ahead. Top four finish. Okay, this is a big weekend. We've got Milan Lazio. That's tomorrow, 9 a.m. Or maybe people are watching this tomorrow morning as well. You've got Milan Lazio, Roma Inter, Atalanta Juventus. Let's look at the standings. Now we've got, just pulling it up real quick. We've got Juventus 63 points in third. Lazio second place, 64 points. Now the difference from second down to sixth, actually down to seventh, is 6 points. At the bottom, Roma 58, Milan 58, Atalanta 58, Inter 60. So if Roma do win, they could leapfrog, but it could only be temporary based upon the other fixtures. How does the top four end for you?
It's a tough question. It's so unpredictable at the moment. I mean,
yeah,
a few weeks ago, before we had this slump in form, I thought Inter would have secured second because we were pretty comfortable second. And then, we ended up having a really bad patch of form. I just think with Inter specifically, we have so many fixtures now, like not just Serie A, we've got the Coppa Italia final against Fiorentina, then we got these two semi-finals against Milan. Like they're going to be not just physically, like emotionally draining. But I think now, the way that we've recovered form, I think Inter might just sneak into fourth. I think Roma as well, you guys have also got these Europa League ties that are going to, drain you guys emotionally and physically. Milan have the same. I think the way no one's talking about them, Atalanta at the moment are just like sneaking in. They've got three wins in a row. And they've got no other commitments. They've got no Coppa Italia. They've got no Europe.
They're chilling.
They're
going on vacation midweek. They're chilling.
Exactly.
They're going to the beach. They're like, it's no sweat.
One game in every 7 days or whatever, like when you get to the stage for them. So I think Atalanta might sneak in there.
I think your form suggests you're correct. And as I'm looking, I've got this up in front of me and it's going to be posted when we edit this. This will be going on throughout the recording, is that Atalanta have the best form out of any team over the past 4 matches in the top 8 in the Serie A. They're in the best form. Maybe Salernitana. I don't have that one up, but that's no. Salernitana does not have any. They don't have too many wins, mostly draws. But anyway, Yet, recent time, the past 3-4 weeks, Atalanta is the best team in Serie A. And that's a little bit frightening, I think, for most fans who support Inter, Juventus, Milan, and then Roma or Napoli one, of course. But yeah, I don't think that can be discounted. It's very true. And like, even mentally, I wouldn't have for a second before you said that really taken that seriously. But Milan, Champions League semifinal. Inter, same. Juventus, Europa League semifinal. Lazio, they're going to get second probably because, they didn't take the competition seriously. But I kind of don't blame them because now I look at my favorite team and half they're on the bench. They're in the medical table. I'm like, yo, this is unsustainable. It's really not. Like you can't have a team like this. So I think you might be persuading me that Atalanta statistically are the best team to. That's where the biggest odd is. I think if you're probably a betting man, you go with Atalanta because probably the bookmakers are not taking them so seriously. But in reality, the rest of Serie A very much should be.
Yeah. And with Juve, I just think that even if they do finish top 4, I think those UEFA sanctions will be coming.
I do as well. I think they're going to take that very seriously. Maybe not half as seriously as it was taken in Italy. And the fact that I think Mourinho alluded to this recently. He said, it really affects what you do in your matches when you see a team that has negative 15 points that's not close to you, because then you base your substitutions and your game plan entirely upon, not entirely, but somewhat upon what your closest rivals or your competitors are doing. And all of a sudden, you reinsert a rival and you have to adjust to that, but you didn't do that for the past half year. And that's really, it's not sporting justice to me. It seems like a real calamity. So we have to deal with that, Sharma. But plug yourself. Where are you on YouTube? By the way, guys, Sharma is the best Inter Milan and one of the best Serie A YouTubers out there. So even if you're not an Inter fan, check out his page. And what is that, Sharma?
Yeah, you should be able to just find me if you type in Uncle Sharma now, thanks to the YouTube, the way they've you can pick your handles now, which is quite good. And yeah, on Twitter at @rshams with the 2 Z's. But yeah, no, thank you for having me on. And yeah, I've been seeing your hustle as well, bro. Close to 1K. You've been posting so regularly. You definitely deserve the 1K.
Oh, thank you.
Make sure you're leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to Wayne, the best when it comes to Roma.
Thanks, man. We'll talk soon. And also, I'll be doing a little bit on Sharma's page right after this. And let's see what happens. May the best team win.
Yeah, which is Inter.
We'll talk then. Bye.